What's going on, guys? So in front of me, you were looking at the two zero-turn mowers that we have out here on our property. The first one is the one that was provided by Toro. This is the Z-Master 2000 HDX with MyRide, that really cool suspension platform right there. And the second one is the one that we purchased when we first got the property, and this is the Skag Cheetah 2. Both of them share commercial engines, this one being a significantly more powerful Kawasaki than this one right here, but for the most part, they're very similar in many ways, both again, commercially built units. Now today's video is going to be interesting because I grew up operating a zero-turn mower. The first mower I started off with, like everyone else, was a self-propelled push mower. The second one was a standard snapper riding lawn mower. And then quickly after that, by the time I was 11 years old, I was on a 48-inch snapper zero-turn. And for the most part, that's what I spent most of my time on. All that being said, my wife has actually never operated a zero-turn mower before in her life. And if you want to talk about the difference between mowers, a push mower and a zero-turn share almost nothing in common other than the fact that they have a motor and blades and they cut grass. That's about it. So today is going to be an interesting video because I'm going to teach my wife how to operate this Toro zero-turn mower for the first time. And she's, again, never been on a zero-turn. I think she may have sat on the seat at one point, but that's probably it. So it's going to be an interesting video. Next to me, I have my beautiful wife. So what do you think when you first see these mowers?
I think power and efficiency on these things.
Do you get intimidated at all? Do they look like something that, you know, if you hadn't seen me use one around here, if you just saw one of these sitting in a store, would it intimidate you at all?
Yes, definitely. These will intimidate me more so than the ones that you see like at Lowe's or Home Depot. You can tell these are built a lot differently. One thing that does intimidate me is I know that the speed that these things can go. So I'll definitely be going, you know, just slow on these, kind of cruise it till I get the feel of it.
Oh yeah, so whenever I'm on one of these, I go pretty fast, and some of that confidence is just through experience of using it, knowing what they're capable of and knowing what they're not capable of. This one has a top speed of 12 miles an hour, I believe, or 11, something like that, and that's also its top cutting speed. The Skag, on the other hand, has like the same top cutting speed, but this one has like a transport speed of like 16 miles an hour, so they are incredibly fast. And for the most part, you don't really want to go that fast over this type of grass and this type of terrain because it's really, really bumpy. So every time my wife sees me out here mowing, she's always like, oh, we should slow it down a little bit. And, you know, when I'm on this thing, I just want to get the yard done because it takes several hours to mow it. But I'm going to show her how to operate it. I'm going to show her how to go slow, how to go fast, how to turn things on, turn things off, how to get it started, how to turn it off in that sense, and just basically how to operate it. So hopefully I'm a good instructor and everything works out well today. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. So first, before we get started, let's take a quick little walk around the unit and explain some of the things that we're looking at. That way you have a better, at least, idea if I start saying, you know, do this or do that, what we're talking about.
Okay.
So on the front, you see these tires that are just kind of stuck out there on the front. These tires are not motorized. And believe it or not, they don't even steer. They're casters. They essentially roll in whatever direction the mower is trying to go. The way a zero-turn steers is by the back tires, either one turning one way, then both turning at the same time, turning opposite of each other. Basically what happens is it's just like a rolling chair. These are going to go whatever way the pressure wants them to go.
Kind of like a grocery cart.
Kind of like, exactly like a grocery cart. Okay. So these are your front casters. Again, no power behind them, just used to essentially act as the front tire so you can go over stuff. This large flat platform underneath, this is your mower deck. So this is what the blades are housed in. Some mowers have one blade, some mowers have two blades. Most of your riding lawnmowers are going to have at least two, if not three blades. This one has three. Shoot, there are some that have more blades than that. But for most zero turns, it's going to have 2 or 3 blades, depending on the width of the deck. This is a 60-inch width deck, which means the overall cutting width is 60 inches wide when you're going over grass. And this uses 3 blades to accommodate that. You have spindles, which actually hold the blades in place. Think about a spindle being something that helps the blade spin. And you have 3 of them. You have one on each side, and then you have one in the center. Where it says don't put your foot, that's because the spindle's underneath that. And this is just plastic. This is what you would step on to get onto the actual platform.
Okay. So here and no there.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. So whenever you're looking at commercial mowers, one of the big differentiations between a commercial mower and a consumer mower is the thickness of the steel that the deck is made out of. So this deck is made out of really thick steel, same as the Skag, and that's simply because you might bash it up against stuff. Over time, things will hit it, things like that, and you want the strongest, thickest steel on commercial mowers since you're likely using it a lot more than your traditional residential or consumer mower. Fuel tank on this unit is on the side right here. You can see the fuel cap right there. On the Skag, it has two fuel tanks, one on each side, and it has individual gas caps on each one. And then you have a little valve on the back that you can select which fuel tank you want to use. So in terms of which one can you be on longer mowing, the Skag only because it holds more fuel.
Okay.
This right here is called a rollover protection system, or ROPS. If you ever hear me say, you know, you need to lower the ROPS or the ROPS hit a tree or something like that, that's what this is. You can fold this down if you're going to be going around trees like this mesquite right here, which lean over, because if you try to go under the tree with the ROPS up, it's going to hit it, and it will just be a really, really ugly feeling when the front tires come off the ground. On the Skag, you can see I have the ROPS down. Essentially, I'm using the Skag to get really close and really tight around trees, but on the Toro, we keep it up because this is mainly for the open lawn area.
Okay, so what's this for right here? Does that drop down?
No, so what this is designed for is the same thing as this back one. It's actually a bucket holder. I took it off for the purpose of the video, just so you didn't have all this stuff next to you whenever we're mowing. But yeah, this is a feature that Toro has on their mowers where you can attach different things to the side. So this holds a 5-gallon bucket here, and that holds a 5-gallon bucket, which is currently in place. Just gives you a little bit more utility if you need to carry things around with you, or if you need to pick up trash that you might find in the yard whenever you're mowing, or carry tools. So I've been using this thing like a UTV around the property, just, you know, fixing things, carrying things around, and I keep a power drill in there and other stuff as well.
Okay.
The tires on the back of these are turf tires. They're basically designed for grass, right? You can put other types of tires. Some people will put more like an agricultural tire, but not so much on these zero turns. The only time you'd need something like that on a mower is if you're going over something really extreme, which zero turn mowers aren't really designed for. These are designed mainly to mow grass, flat grass, nothing that's crazy extreme like a tractor might need to go over. So now that we're at the back of the unit, you're going to see the motor. This is a Kawasaki engine that's on the back here. It's a gas-powered mower. For zero-turn mowers, gas is by far more popular. You get into some diesel motors as you get to your much, much higher, more expensive units, primarily because diesel's going to generally have more torque associated with it. Again, we talked about the MyRide suspension platform. This is a really unique feature that Toro puts on their mowers. It's basically a suspension seat system that gives you a really comfortable ride. When you compare that to, say, the Cheetah, this gives you a much, much more flexible kind of dampening ride system than you're going to get on the Cheetah. But again, you also have to understand the limitations. That doesn't mean that you're not going to have a bumpy ride. If you hit really big bumps, if you hit tree stumps, big ruts, things like that, you're still going to be kind of tossed around a little bit with it. You can see on this side how this has another mount to hold a weed eater on the side. Again, really nice if you're going to be out at the front of the property and you see grass growing around a mailbox and you want to hit it with the weed eater, just to be able to carry it with you as opposed to having to remember, go back and get it and then weed eat around things. So far, you have any questions?
No, not yet. But I noticed here this weed eater, it's also a Toro.
Yes, it's a Toro battery-powered Flex Force weed eater. This is part of their 60-volt line. Again, Toro provided all this stuff for review. All right, so onto this side over here. This is going to be your operator's panel. So this is going to be where you start it, where you turn everything on, turn it off, initiate what's called your PTO. Your PTO is that ability for the blades to turn on underneath. It generally stands for power takeoff. It means that the engine itself is powering another function, and that other function in the term of a mower like this is going to be the blades. So whenever you're ready to start mowing, you'd crank the throttle up really high, and then you would initiate your PTO, which turns your blades on. And there's a big difference in sound and what ends up happening when you turn those on. So we'll go over that here in a second.
So we have to put the throttle all the way up in order to turn that.
On the Toro you do, but you always want to read the instruction manual on the specific unit that you have, because some manufacturers want it at 3/4, some manufacturers want it at half. Most of them want it pretty high before you engage your PTO, and that takes some of the stress off of the belts whenever it's starting up.
So what happens if you don't?
Well, it can just put more wear and tear on the belts. It can cause them to stretch a little bit more, cause them to vibrate a little bit more, and it just in some ways causes some premature wear and tear on them.
Okay, good. Good to know.
All right, so up here you have your steering levers, and this is essentially what helps you go forward, backward, or turn. Operates kind of like a tank, if you can think about that. One tire turns one way, one tire turns the other way to make you turn. Both tires turn one way if you want, at the same time if you want to go forward. Both tires turn one way if you want to go in reverse. Okay, down here is going to be your deck height release. So right now it's in its highest position, which is essentially like a travel position. This is the position you'd want it in if you're not going to be mowing anything and you're simply moving around, because you want the deck as high as possible so you don't hit things that you might be driving over whenever you're trying to move to different parts of the yard.
So we don't hit the blades.
Yeah, so so it's just not too low to the ground.
Okay.
You have the ability to adjust the height here anywhere from 1.5 inches all the way up to 5 inches, depending on where you put this pin. So essentially, the easiest way to adjust your blade height, or the height of how tall you're cutting your grass, is to lock the actual deck up in its highest position, move this pin to the height that you want the grass. Typically we cut down to 3.5 inches, and then you push this in, and then you're going to have a lever right here which you release to allow this to come down, and it will drop to whatever height you want to cut your grass at. And before we go to one of the last features, on your control panel, you have a switch in the back which turns on this LED light up front. A lot of zero-turn mowers don't actually have LED lights that come on them, so you may not have this on some of them. The Cheetah does, the Toro does, and again, it's right up here. But it can really help if it's starting to get dark while you're mowing and you want a little bit more light before you pack it up. You definitely don't want to mow in the dark. It's not a good idea. But when it's starting to get dark, you know, the sun's just coming down, you have a light you can turn on. Right here is your parking brake. So this parking brake is part of a safety feature that both mowers have. If the parking brake is not engaged, it will not let you start the mower. So both of these share very similar safety features. The first one is you have to be seated in the chair to start the mower. The second one is the parking brake has to be on to start the mower. The third one is both handles have to be out like this to start the mower. If they're in even by 1/2 inch, it won't let you start the mower. And then the last one is the PTO has to be off. So if the PTO is on, basically your blades are running, it won't let you start the mower. So your RPMs and all of that, how high you have to have the engine running to start the blades, doesn't have much to do with it. But the 4 things that need to happen would be being seated in there, parking brake on, handles out, and PTO off. And that's how you can actually start the mower. With the rollover protection system up, it's always best that you wear your seatbelt, only because if the tractor does for some reason roll over, you're not going to go tumbling out of it. You'll kind of stay suspended in the seat. If you have the ROPS down, it's best that you don't wear your seatbelt, because you don't want to be caught in a position where you can't get off the mower quick enough, because what you don't want to have do is the thing roll over while you're sitting on it with the rollover protection down. And then one other feature that you should know is this right here. And this is simply your grass chute. This is what projects the grass out the side. You always want this down when you're mowing. There are some little blocks that you can put in front of it if you want to mulch the grass up a little bit more. But for the most part, you always want this down so it projects everything out and off to the side safely, as opposed to possibly ricocheting and coming up and hitting you, because the blades are going to extend right to about here. So they go right around to the edge. You have a wheel up front here. That's called an anti-scalping wheel. So basically what that's designed for is if you are going over an angle like a hill and you get to the top, so all of a sudden that doesn't dig into the ground and catch you. So they put a wheel there. They have 3 of them on the front of the Skag, and the wheel will just help roll the deck over some of those angles so it doesn't dig into the ground. But I think I went over just about everything. Well, the next video we're going to do is actually demonstrating how to operate it, starting it up. It was really important that we do this walk around video first, so you at least have a good fundamental idea of everything that kind of goes into a zero turn in terms of where things are, what they're designed to do, and the purpose of it. But again, the next video we're going to actually operate this, and I'm going to show my wife how to get this thing started, what you need to do, some of the safety things you need to think about, and then we'll be out here and mowing some grass. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. And from both of us, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give us a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again really soon.
All right, see you guys soon.